Wanted to make a video today on the struggle. Obviously, I think part of the human experience and existence is a struggle. Now, it can be different for many people, depending on, what you're born into and what you experience, things like that. Um, for me, specifically, kind of the struggle that I'm referring to is realizing what you're going to do with your life and who you are as a person and things of that nature. But right now, I just turned 21 and recently moved out of my hometown for good. My family sold their house there. I no longer have ties and kind of out on my own. Right now, I am couch surfing. Don't really have a place to stay, but there's been something that I'm pursuing as of recently that I'm starting to really put my all into it. But I wanted to make this video because I think the idea of being lost is really close to a lot of people's hearts, and it's certainly mine. I think I stay up like legitimately every single night and think about the what if in my future, and you know where will I end up, and sort of fixate on these different things. And at the time of me recording this, I'm pretty much a nobody. I would say I'm like a textbook version of a loser. I'm not really saying that in sort of a derogatory way towards myself or anything. It's just sort of the reality. I don't really have anything going on for myself. I graduate college next year, but I'm not interested in, I'm majoring in economics and marketing, and I'm not interested in either of those things at all. Haven't really found a specific interest in literally any basic career path. It all just seems kind of more or less depressing to me. And I don't want that to sound super negative. I feel like it's just the reality. If you're being truthful, at least for my personal experience, I guess I could speak to. But something that I realized is the worst position to be in is when you're just comfortable enough to where you don't want to really enact much change or really go out there and pursue something hard. So some people are born on the bottom, some people are born at the top, some people are born in the middle, obviously. And this is a spectrum. Some people can be born kind of towards the top, whatever, you get what I'm saying. But I've made a lot of friends along the way who were born at the way bottom, like kicked out of their house when they were 17, kind of grew up in sort of the projects or not very wealthy areas where there wasn't a lot of opportunity, or whatever it may be. And I realized that these individuals were never truly comfortable because they couldn't afford to be, and so they really had to go out and get it. And then I've also met a handful of people who were born into extreme amounts of wealth. A few of my friends were born into multi-million-dollar families, and they kind of had the connections and everything built for them. And so for them, they kind of had that lifestyle that most of us want. Kind of were born into it. And I'm not saying I'm like jealous of them or anything like that, but for me, I was born in the middle. I would say like lower middle class, where my family, both my folks are working full time. We don't really ever take vacations. Certainly not poor. Like everything's taken care of bill wise. I've never had to pay for the bills. Never had to worry about where I'm getting my food, my next meal from. Nothing like that. But how does this relate to the struggle? Well, kind of where what I was born into in many cases can be sort of the worst situation in terms of specifically, having a lucrative career or a big pursuit, because this is the area where you're just comfortable enough because you get the weekends off, or, you don't have you have some debt, but you don't have a ridiculous amount of debt, or, that at the end of the day, you sort of have, a cushion that's not like super big, but it's there. And if you really go out and risk something, excuse me, if you really go out and risk something, you have the potential to lose everything you have. And so most people are just, sort of content with this 9 to 5, going to college, doing this, that, and the third. But they never really live their lives. They're alive, but they're not really living, if you get what I'm saying. And that quickly has become my biggest fear. And I love my family and I love a lot of my friends and stuff like that. But what I've realized is that the vast majority of these people all are doing the same thing, where everyone's just kind of going to college, going through the basic steps. They get a job. No one really likes their job. And then they're kind of stuck in that. I have two older siblings, both of whom are graduated from college, and they both work these jobs. And, I love my siblings, but To be blunt with you, their jobs just sound completely miserable. Like, my sister works this job and she's only worked there for like 2 years, I think, and has been eagerly trying to get a new one. And my brother's just finished up school and he's got like this new finance job, which is, I'm really proud of him, happy for him. But like, no one wants to be an accountant or a finance guy. Like, that's nobody's dream. And so, um, I'm a little bit scared that I'm going to fall into that trap. And that's why I decided to go out on my own. And that's why I'm couch surfing right now, is because I want the potential to do more with my life. And it is certainly a struggle. And maybe some people will watch this video and be like struggle, like you just said that your parent, like, you don't have to worry about bills, like your parents paid the bills, you don't have to worry about a meal. Well, yeah, sure, but the struggle I'm talking about is really just like the never ending battle in my own head, where it's like, where am I going to go, what am I going to do, how am I going to achieve this lifestyle that I want. And certainly that is a struggle, and it's something that is like, I'm an introspective person, so it's something that I think about like vast majority of my day. How do I get to these places? One thing that I realize is like, if you're watching this video, you're probably similar to me, where I feel like you hear the term matrix all the time. And sometimes I don't like that stuff because it seems a little bit corny or whatever, but it is a good analogy because it seems like there's this like system, and it's sort of all consuming. It reaches all aspects of your life, like from the TV that you watch to your neighbors to the basic life habits that you have, to pretty much like everything it kind of taps into. But what I realized is like people are so concerned about the most ridiculous things. I was going out with my family and I heard like some of my family members just like gossiping about like stuff going on in the neighborhood, and I was like, what is going on here? There's no way this is what life is. Like, you care about like whether or not somebody is parking on the street or not, or like it's just there's no way that that's what life has to offer. There has to be more. I refuse to believe it. And like I said, it sort of bleeds into every aspect of life. And so right now, like, I'm realizing I feel like I'm just trying to escape whatever this sort of system is. And it can be difficult because, like I said before, my family is all in this, and my family's friends in my hometown, like all the people there, like I feel like I'm one of the only people that really like has my eyes open to sort of the BS that is going on around me, and how like all these things, like, people think they matter but they don't really matter. And I can attribute that to myself too. There's times where I'm thinks like something matters but it really doesn't. um but there's a scene from a TV show called House of Cards. Now, I don't watch this show, but I have seen this scene, and I'm a big Kevin Spacey fan. Him as an actor, not him as a person. But I think he's being like, he's some sort of politician or something, and he's being interviewed by a news casting thing. And he said, he's like, the American dream is dead. You can no longer, your children will no longer live better lives than you. Like, he has this whole speech where he's saying, like, things are like economically and career wise and sort of these different pursuits, like, they're dying, and people are, the standard of living is decreasing, all this stuff, right? Like, a lot of you guys know, like, in the real world, the economy, like the comparison of what the minimum wage would need to be now versus then to buy houses, it would need to be $72 now, um, to compare for the ratio to buy a house. And like, just everything, college is, I think, 10 times more expensive. Houses are like 8 times more expensive. Then I think this is like, then like 1970 or something, sometime like that. And so it's becoming harder and harder for people to succeed and live the lives that they want, and everyone's pretty much stuck being a slave to the corporations, and playing by the rules of who are the people that are controlling us. And it's hard, as somebody who I feel like I'm aware of kind of what's going on. At the same time, I don't think I know everything. You got to be, are you smart enough to think you're stupid? You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely things I don't know, and things that I think I know that aren't true. But I think for the most part, I'm understanding of what's going on. And the struggle is just figuring out, how can I claw my way out of this hole? How can it's like that scene in Batman where, I don't know which one it is, but he's like in this jail in like some other country, and he has to climb out of it. And it's sort of this symbol of like when, or like metaphor for like when you fall, you got to get back up and stuff like that. But going back to the scene that I was talking about from House of Cards, Kevin Spacey, he has this whole long speech about how things are getting worse, and then he says, "You are entitled to nothing." And then I thought about that. I was like, "You're entitled to nothing." Why would he say that right after he just talked about how things are on the down? And then I realized is he's basically saying like, you don't deserve anything. You're not entitled to anything, no matter how you act. Like you have to go out there and get what you want, right? So sometimes I could be like in my own head, like, why is it so hard to find my purpose or to do this or that? Like I wish it would just be easier. Then I realized like, Ethan, you're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to success. You're not entitled for things to be easy. Like, uh, there's nothing, no part of you deserves that. I think so many people, especially in my generation, like think they're entitled to this or that, right? But the truth is that you are not entitled to anything. You have to go out there and get what you want, and you have to be ruthless and overly ambitious and extremely hardworking, and the chips need to fall in the right place. You know what I'm saying? So it's not given, but one thing is certain is if you just follow the basic path that's set for you, you just go to college or you just go to trade school and you just put in the time, blah, blah. Sooner or later, you're going to be 50 years old. And, traveling the world is not really going to be optimal anymore because you want to start saving for retirement and you're not healthy enough to do it and all this stuff. I've seen a lot of these videos online where it's like, when you're like it's like when you're 16, you're like, oh, when I finish high school, I'll do this. And then when you're like 18, you're like, oh, when I finish college, I'll do this. And then when you're, 22, you're like, oh, I'm just going to go to graduate school and just get my master's. And then it's, oh, but I don't want to take a gap year and explore the world because I got to focus on my career. And then it's one thing after another, after another, after another. Like, oh, when I have kids, oh, when the kids move out, oh, when we retire, it's a never ending cycle where we're always waiting for something to happen to us. But the truth is you got to go out there and get it. And I'm in that struggle right now, like as we speak. Like I said, I'm literally couch surfing. I have really nothing going for me, but I'm trying, and for once in my life I care about what I'm doing, and I want to actually pursue what I'm doing with pretty much everything I have, because I don't want to look back, and you as a viewer, whatever you want to do, like you don't want to look back and think, oh man, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. You don't want that regret. So, embrace the struggle. That's what I'm realizing, and continue to work hard. Maybe I'll make this video, it gets 10 views and I end up dying a loser, and maybe that's just that. But maybe, just maybe, the chips fall in the right place, and I've set myself up through my hard work and determination for my preparation to meet the opportunity of the chips falling in place to where I can become something and achieve the life that I want and find my real purpose in life. That's just my thoughts. I could be wrong. I wish everybody who sees this video the best.